We live in a world where access control is becoming more and more important. As our technology is advancing, as the cloud is becoming more important to our daily lives, as security concerns are growing and becoming more and more imminent, whether or not you should invest in access control if you're a small to medium-sized business, if you own or manage a corporate facility, if you manage security in an educational environment or at a hospital or any other enterprise level, it's safe to say that yes, access control is very important to you. But many of our customers who know they need access control still don't really know where to start. And we've gotten a lot of the same questions over and over again. So in this video, we want to clear up some of the initial confusion you might have with access control and to help you gain the confidence that you need to jump headfirst into this technology. Hey everybody, it's Tyler from Nelly Security, and in today's video, we're going to be going over 10 access control considerations that you should be thinking about before your next installation. Access control consideration number 1. You knew this was going to be here, so we might as well just bite the bullet and get it out of the way. Eat the frog? Is that a better metaphor? So let's take the plunge. Rip off the Band-Aid? That's a good one. You knew this was coming, so we might as well rip off the Band-Aid and get this one out of the way. Codes and regulations. If you're installing access control on your property, you're essentially changing the way the property functions, and if you're doing this in a publicly accessible location, you're definitely going to need to check your local codes and make sure everything is up to date, fully compliant, and not breaking any laws. This isn't something that we can help you with a whole lot because this is going to be different for every municipality, for every state. This is going to require a little bit of research on your part because at the end of the day, our top concern here is security and safety. So we want to make sure we're setting up our systems safely. We want to make sure we're setting them up in accordance with all fire codes, building codes, safety codes, and anything else that might affect your installation in your location. And the reason I'm putting this one here at the beginning is because it's definitely going to affect your system design because the laws in your area might require certain hardware or certain features, and you're going to need to know those features before you even start sourcing your equipment. Even though this is a very important consideration to take, it's really not as scary as many people think. We have a lot of integrators that install security cameras that have procrastinated getting into access control simply because they don't want to dig into the codes or do anything illegal. And while this is a very valid concern, we don't want you guys to do anything illegal. It's actually not that hard to stay compliant. If you really don't know what you're doing, this is a tip we often give integrators out there. Access control is the perfect opportunity for you to make a new business partnership or to outsource some work to a local locksmith. If you find a locksmith in your area that you can trust, they're going to be fully aware of your local codes. This is something they deal with all the time, and you can always outsource some of the hardware work to them while you focus on more of the software side of things, the logic behind your system, setting everything up, maintaining the system over time. As a security integrator, you have a lot going on and you don't have to do everything. If you are a business owner or facilities manager, you're definitely going to want to connect with a professional at this stage. Find a good security integrator who can listen to all of your needs, take a look at your property, and help you figure out both what you need to design your system and how you can stay compliant with all local codes. If you need help finding an integrator, you can always give us a call at 855-340-9999. We don't install access control ourselves, but we do have dealers all over the country, and there's a good chance we'll be able to find one near you. Access control consideration number 2 is a hot topic these days: cloud technology versus local technology. Cloud technology has reared its head in just about every vertical in the tech industry. Access control is no different. So before you even start looking at individual readers or door controllers, you need to ask yourself the question, do you want fully local equipment? Do you want a fully cloud-based system? Or do you want some kind of hybrid between the two? Again, your answer to this question is greatly going to influence your entire system design. It's even going to change the way you install certain equipment and the location that you install certain equipment. Some pros of having your system completely in the cloud include easy management, since everything can be done off-site through a web browser or through a mobile app. Easy installation, since most cloud-based technology is going to have self-discovery features. allowing for as little configuration on your part as possible. But some pros to having a local system include higher peace of mind. If all of your equipment is right there where you can see it, your entire system is fully manageable in one place. You know someone's not going to be able to access it remotely. Your data's not going to be able to leak out into the cloud. This probably isn't going to happen with your cloud-based systems anyway, but at least with a local system, you do have that extra peace of mind. As far as products that we carry at Nelly Security, if you do want something more local, we have ZK Teco, the Atlas series, which is more for beginners. It's more cost effective. And then we've also got the C3 Pro, which is more of an advanced system. It's all local, although you can connect it to the internet and access it remotely through an app. On the other side of the spectrum, we have PDK, whom I've already mentioned in this video, and they are fully located on the cloud. You cannot have a PDK system without having a cloud node and a cloud account. So those are the two product lines that you would go depending on the direction that you want to take your technology. Consideration number 3 is going to be scalability. Now, a huge mistake we see people make all the time is thinking that they only need a 2 or a 4-door controller because they only need somewhere between 2 and 4 doors controlled at this moment in time. Most of the time that is going to fulfill your needs. However, make sure you are investing in a system that will allow you to add more door panels in the future. Everything that we carry at Nelly Security will allow for this kind of expansion, whether it's ZK Teco or PDK. But if you want to save yourself a little bit of money down the road, if you think you're going to be adding 2 or 3 more doors in the future, you can always purchase a door controller that is a little bit bigger than what you need right now, just to save yourself from having to buy an entire new controller when you do want to add another couple of doors. So just keep that in mind. How much do you want to scale your system? Is this going to be something that you expect to grow in the near future? Or is it going to be pretty set in stone based on what you have when you get started? Consideration number 4, cost and budgeting. This one feels pretty obvious. Of course, you're going to look at the cost of things. You're going to have a budget that you need to stick to. But something that I want to focus on here is the total cost of ownership, not just the cost of the initial equipment. Because there are a few extra things that you need to think about with access control. First, you need to ask yourself how many users you plan to have in this system. Are they going to need physical credentials, mobile credentials, or both? Every time you need an extra card, that is going to be another purchase. Every time you need an extra Bluetooth credential for someone's cell phone, that is going to be an additional purchase as well. These costs are very small, but they do add up if you're purchasing them in bulk. Say if you have 200 or 300 users or even more. Another hidden cost that you might have to take into consideration with some access control systems out there is a management software. Some access control systems will require you to purchase a management software for your system, which can get quite expensive. The products that we carry at Nelly Security don't do this. With ZK Teco, the management software is built into the equipment. You would access it from a web browser just like you would a security camera. There's no extra cost for that. With PDK, on the other hand, since it is in the cloud, there are going to be cloud fees associated with that. You're not going to be paying for a single piece of software to manage your equipment, but you will have recurring charges. Again, these are very small, and if you're an integrator, you can make those back by charging recurring monthly revenue to your clients. Another cost to keep in mind is just recurring fees. Like I already mentioned with PDK, you do have fees associated with the cloud. With ZK Teco Atlas, there are no fees associated with this. However, with the higher tier of products on ZK Teco, the C3 Pro, you are going to have some licensing fees associated with that as well. Some of these products do require additional training that you'll have to pay for, maybe for yourself, maybe for your technicians. Be sure to take all of this into consideration up front because you're going to be purchasing more than just the equipment itself. Consideration number 5 is user authentication and access control policy. There are many ways for your system to authenticate users, which means to allow them to enter an area and open a door. This can be done through a simple swipe of a proximity card. This can be through Bluetooth on your mobile phone. It can be a QR code scan. It can be a PIN code on a physical keypad. It can be facial recognition, a fingerprint. It could be solving a very complex riddle. I don't know about that last one, but that'd be really cool. But you don't just need to ask yourself what kind of authentication you want, but how you want to implement the authentication, which is what we mean by the policy. If it's a general room that everybody who works at the premises should have access to, then you could have a number of different authentication methods that could all work. For instance, someone could swipe a card, or if they don't have the card with them, they can enter a PIN code. Or another alternative would be to use their phone to grant themselves access. The point here being, there's many ways to get into this room, which would make this room less secure. Compare this to, say, a cash room or some other room on the premises where a very small number of people should have access to. A room like this might require both a PIN number and a card scan, or even some level of biometric scan like a fingerprint or a face recognition. The more authentication methods that are required, the more secure a room is going to be. You can even take this to a whole new level based on groups of people. So for instance, you can say, in order for this door to be opened, you need one person from the security group, one person from the management group, one person from the sales group. You can really get crazy with your access control policies, which leads us to the next consideration to watch out for: flexibility and customization. Something that you need to ask yourself right up front is how customizable and how flexible does your access control system need to be? Are you going to require these very specific and customized rules? Because if so, you're probably going to need to invest in a system that can handle this customization a little bit better. If all you need is cut and dry access control authentication procedures, simple card scans, simple PIN numbers, then you might not need something that offers this amount of customization. It all totally depends on the needs that you have at your facility. There isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all answer for everybody. This is the kind of thing that if you do have any questions, we really recommend you giving us a call. We really excel at listening to what people's needs are and providing them with a solution that fits those needs, whether or not it's something that we carry. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about ZK-TeCo and PDK because these are two systems that we do carry here at Nelly Security. However, if you call us with a very specific need that isn't really met by either one of these manufacturers, we're going to do our best to try to meet that need and provide the solution that you need regardless, because for us, it's much more about solving our customers' problems than it is about pushing our products. So definitely reflect on the amount of customization and flexibility that you're going to need, because if you do need something super custom, our team of security experts can help you figure out what that is. On to access control consideration number 7, biometrics or no biometrics. We've talked briefly about biometrics. This is one of the different authentication methods that you can add to your systems. The difference between biometric credentials and non-biometric credentials is simply that biometric credentials take data from a human being, say a fingerprint or a face, and non-biometric credentials use a frequency from a proximity card or a personal identification number. Using biometrics obviously comes with its pros and its cons. Pros, it's great for security. Everybody has a unique fingerprint, everybody has a unique facial arrangement, and it's really hard to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Biometrics are great, they're very secure. One con associated with biometrics is, again, this is human data. So you're dealing with very private details. Not everybody wants their fingerprints or their face uploaded, scanned, sent off to the cloud somewhere for processing. So it is a decision that you're going to have to make. And it's a decision that you're going to have to make early on in the system design process, simply because not all systems can handle biometric data. Take ZK-TeCo, for instance. We have first the two different product lines, the beginner's line, which is ZK-TeCo Atlas, and the C3 Pro. Even if you go with something like the Atlas, that has two variations, a ZK-TeCo Atlas Prox version and a ZK-TeCo Atlas BIOS version. The obvious difference there being the Atlas Prox version primarily uses proximity cards, PIN codes, that kind of thing, whereas the Atlas Bio version can take those same credentials, your proximity card, your PIN code, but it can also do biometric data like fingerprints, facial recognition. That's why this is something you need to keep in mind early so you can make sure you are investing in products that are compatible with the type of data you want to collect. Access control consideration number 8, visitor management and communication. This is slightly different from the main topic of access control, but it is very much related, because if you're locking up a building and only allowing people with a card to enter, that raises several questions. What if you have visitors? What if you have someone bringing a package? What if you have someone ordering DoorDash? As a part of your access control system, you might want to consider implementing a communication system as well to really help with visitor management. At Nelly Security, the solution that we carry for this is called AccuVox. AccuVox is a smart intercom system. It's cost effective. It's all IP equipment. It can all be integrated directly into your ZK-Teco or your PDK system. And it's a really convenient way for people who come to your building to just press a button, initiate a phone call with you. Or if you have a more complex location like an office complex or a suite of apartment buildings, there are also multi-tenant versions of this which would allow people to look through a contact list to select the tenant that they want to contact. There's a whole slew of visitor management features that this offers. You or your clients can send out QR codes for temporary users. There's an app that everybody who needs access to the intercom can use to communicate with the person at the door. And there are even indoor monitors that you can install, as many as you need to, that you can initiate calls and answer calls with your intercom system. I'm not going to go much into AccuVox here. It's a very robust intercom system and it works seamlessly with most access control systems. This is a great way to up your access control game, allow for more convenience for yourself and for your customers, while still maintaining high levels of security. Two more. Access control consideration number 9 is remote monitoring and alerts. We've already talked about whether or not you want to go with the cloud. Regardless, you are probably going to want some way to manage your system remotely, even if it's just to have the ability to open a door from your cell phone. It's really convenient to be able to be anywhere, either anywhere on your property or even anywhere in the world, and still have access to your access control system so that you can see exactly what's going on, exactly which doors are being accessed. However, depending on the sensitivity of the data that you're using, having your access control system available remotely like that might not be the best option for you. Regardless, it's something that you're going to need to take into consideration because, again, that is going to contribute to the total cost of ownership. Take ZK-Teco, for instance. They do have a powerful application that comes with the ZK-Teco Atlas panels. However, with the purchase of a system, you only get one free mobile credential. For additional mobile credentials, you're going to need to purchase those. However, last time I checked, that app was for admin permissions only, so you really wouldn't need a whole lot of mobile credentials in that case. PDK, on the other hand, the whole thing is based on the cloud. It's designed to be managed mobile first, so the mobile app is kind of core to the whole thing. It's not like ZK-Teco where the mobile app is just a cherry on top. So with PDK, it is going to be easier for more people to have access to the mobile app, but more importantly, it is easier to manage permissions on that app. So if you're looking for a system where everybody can have remote access from a mobile phone, you might want something like PDK, where you can get granular with the permissions. If it's something where a mobile app would be nice for you or for a couple of administrator level users, something like ZK-Teco would be more appropriate. However, it's important to note that depending on what kind of data you're storing in your access control system, remote access may not be for you. In that case, you've probably already decided to steer clear of cloud systems like PDK, and there's not much more for you to consider at this point for an app or any kind of remote access. And now for the 10th and final consideration, the moment we've all been waiting for. Consideration number 10 is user friendliness. The reason I say this is because not all access control systems are built with the user in mind. In fact, most advanced systems are pretty difficult to use just because of the vast number of features they have. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you need something that is feature-rich and robust, it's not going to be user-friendly, and that's part of what you're going to have to take into consideration during the system design process. However, if you don't need something with a crazy amount of features, something overly robust, it's always better to lean towards simplicity for the sake of user-friendliness. Now, when I talk about user-friendliness, I'm talking about several levels. First, how easy is this going to be for the technician or for the security manager or for the integrator to set this up? Now, user-friendliness at this level really isn't much of an issue because usually these are going to be pretty technically oriented people. They can work their way through clunky menus and systems that are a little bit difficult to set up. However, if you can simplify this process, allow your techs to spend less time installing and setting up and wiring, then why wouldn't you? The simpler the system, the more user-friendly it's going to be at this level, The more time you're going to save, the more money you're going to save, and the happier your techs are going to be with your products. Nobody wants to go in and perform maintenance on a super clunky system, even if they can. But the next level of user friendliness is something that most people don't consider when purchasing a security system, and that's going to be the everyday user of the equipment. The security techs, the integrators, the facilities managers, these are going to be the people buying the equipment, but it's important to keep in mind who's actually going to be using the equipment from day to day. Let's say a school secretary, for instance, who's going to be sitting at the desk all day long, buzzing people in and out. That person is going to need to have a basic knowledge of how to work the system. As well as any employee that has an ID badge or a password, they're going to need to have a basic understanding of what they're doing. Most of the time, it's not going to be much for these users, not much more than a button press or a card scan. But what if something goes wrong? Or what if somebody needs to use the app to open a door from across the building? These are all things to consider as well, because it doesn't matter how high-tech or performative your system is. It's not worth much if the people who are going to be using this equipment day in and day out don't know how to operate it. I'm not saying you should only invest in equipment that is user-friendly, but it's still going to be a consideration for you, because if you do have to source equipment that is more high-tech, that is more feature-rich, you're probably also going to have to invest in more training. You're going to have to invest in ways to make sure your employees know how to use the system so that they're not just over there aimlessly pushing buttons and pulling knobs and not knowing how it all works together. So that is it. That is our 10 considerations for access control. Surely there are hundreds more, so please, if I missed anything, let me know down in the comments below. What else should people consider before they start to invest in their first access control system? As always, if you have any questions about anything access control or security related, our security experts are here to help you Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time. Give us a call, send us an email, we're always happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us across social media so you never miss another security video. Happy installing, and I'll catch you in the next one.